Joe.
Howdy.
Long time fan of your work.
Thank you.
Of the things you're trying to...
You're too young to be a long time fan.
Okay. What was I going to say?
Job well done. Yes.
No, until the mention of the movement in the tall grass, the thing you were working on that I was most excited about was the World War Z adaptation.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could speak to how you adapted it from the novelization to the screenplay.
Again, I'm not sure what will remain of this, but what I did in my series of drafts was, have you read the World War Z book? For those who have not, it is an after-action report, for lack of a better term. It's now a few years after the zombie attack killed like half the planet off, and someone says, okay, let's figure out what went wrong and we didn't connect the dots and why did this spread so fast. There's a UN report about what happened. And there's no main character, there's no narrative structure other than a series of interviews. So I thought, well, hell, somebody had to do those interviews. So let's do a story about the writing of the book. So I created a UN investigator plus his family. We see what happened to them during the war as our sort of narrative through line, which we flash back to see what happened to him and his kids. And then we follow him as he goes from place to place, interviewing those, and we see flashbacks through their eyes. So we get to see, you know, the zombies in the harbor as the evacuation of India, trying to get out of there and being swamped by the boats and all the rest of it. And just imagine writing a scene where exterior beach, India, and we see 10,000 zombies cresting over a hill, you know, coming down into the shore where there are thousands of refugees frantically trying to get into the water, to the boats, and being swamped, and under the water, gravity pulling you down. So it's a light comedy. With some musical numbers. Not quite as good as Zorro.
Thank you very much.
Sure thing.
Hi, Joe.
Howdy.
Got zero from B5, long day.
Thank you.
What made you go from working on television, cartoons, and live action to comics? How were you able to do it, I want to say smoothly so well, because it's not very often you see a lot of TV writers go from TV to comics and make that connection work.
I like to fail upward. I go where the fun is. I go where the story is. I worked in television nonstop for 20 years. And the last one I did was Jeremiah, which was it's not the one pan clap. And while we were able to tell some good stories with that, there were some things positive that came out of it. It was the most nightmarish experience of my career. And it was 2 years trapped in a metal drum with someone banging on it. That was what it was. And when I finished it, I thought, I need a break. I need to get away from television. And I've always believed in the notion of doing that which scares you, doing that which you haven't done before, and taking risks. That goes back to the thing about the tyranny of reasonable voices. You have to challenge yourself. You have to take chances. You have to do things that you haven't done before, and risk failure. As the military points out, the only way you know where the wall is to try and go beyond it. Failure, according to the military, is an important part of the process. If you don't fail once in a while, you're doing it wrong. So I thought, okay, what have I not failed at? There's much left at that point. Well, I haven't done a real honest-to-God motion picture. I've done TV movies, and that sort of thing, but I have not actually written a full-length motion picture. And I knew this story. I tried to write it years before, couldn't make it come together in my head. Tried one more time, I wrote Changeling. And got it to my agent, and he got it to Ron Howard, who bought it like overnight. Then they brought it Clint Eastwood, who came out like overnight. And then Angelina. And suddenly I went from being a TV writer who no one in the film world knew about at all to, quote, an A-list writer. And I had all these meetings with the studio guys afterward, you know, and who wanted to talk to me about doing work for them. And they were all like, where did you come from? Literally, where'd you learn to write like that? You know? And it really was a transformational experience in every sense of the word. Changeling was what got me into being almost a full-time feature film writer. And it's such a weird world. It's such an uncommon world. I used to think in television I knew what the money truck was. No. Now I know what the money truck is. And just they just back it up. You know, the beeps, they back it up and shovels. I was in Cannes for the premiere of Changeling. And we're going to have dinner before the premiere. Me and Angie and Brett. Me and those who also helped make the film. That sounds stupid. I feel like I'm embarrassed. So I'm getting ready to go down, and they call up from downstairs. They say, Mick Jagger was staying at the same hotel. Would like to join us for dinner. Is it okay? Very nice table manners. The woman who was with him was like this much taller than he was. It was quite astonishing. I got one blurry iPhone photo, I look like this. It's just, and the premiere, they bring in these black cars through the streets of France, with cops in front of you and behind you, and usually the cops are behind me is a bad thing. You know? Blown through the streets of France, and you get there and you come out, and there's thousands of photographers just taking pictures of the people in front of you. So it's such an uncommon experience for me, and because I come from television, because I come from New Jersey, you know, I can step back and look at it objectively. You know, I'm among them, but not of them. And so it's like a great, you know, sociology experiment. But to answer your question, I always try and take a chance. My first animation script I ever sold, I wrote on spec and sent it off, and God knows why they bought the goddamn thing, and they put me on staff, and that was 20 years of television. You know, I think it's really important to try things. I have a friend who, again, worked for the state of California, or as I mentioned before, a faceless master artist in Mountaintop. And she called one day and said, you know, I'm depressed. I've been 30 years in this job, and there's nothing of me in here. And I'm going to be 50 soon, and what is there of me? And I've never done what I wanted to do. And I said, well, what do you want to do? That's a good place to start. And he said, well, what are your passions? Well, I like my cats. Good start. What else? Well, I like taking pictures because, you know, I'm not a professional. I like taking pictures. Why don't you take pictures of people's pets, people's cats and dogs, and make that little sideline business? Well, I can learn. Why not? Try it. She now works 3 days a week for a faceless master artist out the top, and 2 days a week doing what she loves to do, taking pictures of kitties and doggies. And by this time next year, it'll be 5 days a week. It is not too late. That's the message. That's what you hold on to. Never too late to become what you're meant to be in the first place.
Hi.
Howdy.
Big Babylon 5 fan. It's one of the reasons I take great joy in the misery fairies of the universe. This question is more for a friend who couldn't make it today, and wanted to know what's your most favorite part of doing Jason in the real universe?
I know why your friend isn't here today. He sleeps with the fishes.
Actually, court date, but...
Probation, huh? I told him to stay off the heroin. Anyone any good? And that woman, he should keep his hands to himself, particularly when the heroin's involved.
Actually throwing chairs at his sister, but, you know...
What's your friend do?
He's kind of unemployed because he's trying to help.
No, I'll see show this for a job. What did he do for he's in court today?
No, he threw a couple chairs at his sister. So the cops, his mother called the cops, and he was very, and the cops were like, "You have to take it." He's like, "Fine." He's a big dude. They needed 2 handcuffs to handcuff him. So
I should be nice to what I'm saying.
Yeah. The guy has snake eyes tattoo on his like the symbol there. It's like
a gentleman and a scholar.
Oh yeah, very much so. I can't be mean to him because
Does he want money? I can give him some money right now.
No, But no, he owes me a favor, because I did some deeds for him here, and I've already asked that my starship in our Star Wars game be faster than a unit of measurement. So...
So let me get this straight. You got a friend who was the size of the Bronx, right? Who threw chairs at his sister. Not the table, just the chair. It's not the whole set.
He would have done the table, but dinner was on it.
Well, he said, it's good to have standards. The point being, and of all the things he wanted about Jason, the fucking real warriors?
Yes.
Did the chair land on his head? Oh, why did the cops hit him?
Not really that. I think they would be more scared of him. They were gone cops.
I fucking love New York. The best part of the work at Jason the Warriors was leaving it.
This is a show about monster minds that drive cars with planet. And have no reason for attacking things and fucking plans of like
uplifting her during a very tough time in her life, and just you made her cry during the episode where Marcus died, and I thank you for that, and also for giving her that experience, and also once again, Babylon 5. Just some. I like it that you made us the bad guys. You don't see that that often. I really think.
Appreciate it. And by the way, we talked to your friend about today. I'm not staying in the plaza with you. 4 seasons, room 412, for Casada staying.
Where can you stay? I'm staying at room 412 at the Four Seasons where Casada is staying.
Rick Casada?
Joe
I'll hear
Casada.
about that one. My friends, their main job is to pick up the phone when the voice says, "You know what he's done now." Yes, sir. This is why I love talking to you guys. This can't be beat. You can't make this shit up.
I'm a big Babylon 5 fan.
Well, you're an average side at that one. The guy four behind you is a big fan.
And I'm not ashamed to admit I cried like a baby when Captain Sherry went out on the ship and passed away, so to speak. And I rarely ever cry from a TV show or a movie, but that really, really touched me deeply. And so thank you for that.
So make everyone cry. What the hell's with this? I got to come in and people laughing about this. That sucks.
I think the person who gave the best performance was Andreas Katsoulis, and I'm really sorry that he's no longer with us. A story about that'll give us more of an insight of what kind of a person he was. We probably have a few good stories about him. I know he's a special person. Maybe
Yeah. We didn't know about the diagnosis, nor did he know about the problem, Andreas, until he went in for an x-ray and discovered that cancer was behind his sternum, which I hadn't shown up before, and it was already at stage 5. And I heard this through the grapevine. Walter Koenig called me and said, "You should know Andreas is dying." And I what? So I called him on the phone, and he was laughing on the phone. I said, "Yeah, I'm dying." Is it in a hood? So I'm taking vitamins and this and that, and I'm healthier than I've ever been, and also I'm dying. And I was just stunned by his reaction. And he was laughing and carrying on. And he said, "Listen, before I check out, I'd like to have dinner with you and Doug and Peter and just, talk about old times." And so a month or so goes by, and he's on chemo, he's losing his hair, but still the strength is there and the character is there. He said, "Come on over, let's have some dinner," which we all knew was going to be our farewell. And he's at his home, and he's still on meds and for pain and everything else. Could not have been more glorious, more energetic. He said, what was the stuff going on behind the scenes with everyone? What really happened with so-and-so? Who am I going to tell?